Now, as we've been discussing this morning, the reason the Chancellor's in such trouble over his family's tax and residence arrangement is how all this looks at a time when so many people's finances are being squeezed, sometimes by decisions he himself is taking. Out-of-work benefits will rise by a little over 3% tomorrow, whilst inflation is heading north of 8%. That's a very significant cut in income and living standards for some of those on the lowest incomes in the country. In fact, the Joseph Rowntree Foundation says it will be the greatest fall in the value of basic rate of out-of-work benefits in 50 years. Joseph Rowntree Foundation Director Helen Barnard joins me now. Good morning, Ms. Barnard. Why do you say this is the biggest fall in such a long period?
What we've seen, obviously, is for a decade we've had cuts and freezes to benefits. And actually, for 8 of the last 10 years, the benefits have been losing value. So we're already at a historic low. Now, because although benefits go up tomorrow, they go up by so much less than the cost of living is rising, it means that in terms of their value, so how much bread and milk you can buy in the shops, it is the biggest fall in value since 1972, for 50 years. And obviously, people are already very often in quite desperate situations. They are struggling to afford food and heating and basic hygiene products. And now the government is imposing this enormous cut, probably at the worst possible time, given how difficult things are out there in the country.
From your research, can you describe the real-world impact of this to some of the families that you've talked to?
Well, I mean, we're seeing things like pensioners riding the buses all day to keep warm. We're seeing children who are using a torch at night because even at age 6, they know their parents can't afford to turn the lights on all the time. We've heard from food banks who are saying, look, please don't donate fresh food because the people we're helping can't afford to plug the fridge in, let alone cook food. There was a story the other day about a young man, a teenager, fainting at a food bank because he hadn't eaten enough in the run-up. And actually, we're seeing this spread. So people who have been donating and volunteering for years are actually having to say at the end of their shift, have we got any left over? Because I can't afford to eat properly anymore.
I don't know if you had the chance to listen to the Crime Policing Minister, Kit Malthouse, when I spoke to him about, 45 minutes ago, and asked him about this. And he said that, in essence, the government had no choice after COVID and the amount was spent there, the uncertainties for the public finances engendered by the conflict in Ukraine. What's your answer to that case?
I think if you look at the spring statement, the Chancellor spent about £18 billion. That's the money that he decided he could afford to spend. He probably could have spent more and still stayed within his rules, but let's just take the 18 billion. Of that money, about 2/3 went to benefit people in the richest half of the country. So he actually had the money. The issue is that the government is not prioritising using the money they have to protect the poorest people who are facing the greatest hardship.
Your report today is about people who are dependent on benefits, but the squeeze isn't just facing those people, I think. People in work are also facing some drop in their living standards. What does your organisation think is going to happen to those in work, and what will be the impact on them?
Of course, many people at work also get benefits to top up low earnings. So this squeeze on benefits actually affects a lot of low-income workers as well as people who can't work because they are disabled or they're caring for small children or they're caring for adults. So actually workers are going to feel this. And of course, it's this kind of irony that even where you have something like raising the national insurance threshold, which helps some, not all, but some low-income workers, people who are earning little enough that they get topped up by benefit system actually lose a lot of the benefit of something like that because their benefits get pulled away to make up for the fact that they're keeping a bit more of their income. So actually mean low-income workers are facing incredibly difficult situations. And, we know the majority of people in poverty now are in working households. one of the problems is that too many jobs are not just low paid, but they're insecure. You don't know what money you're getting one week to the next. You don't get sick pay. You don't get protection if something goes wrong. And so it is people who are really vulnerable in that situation when they're working, who are also now struggling to afford, the basic essentials and having to rely on charities for, toothpaste and toilet roll. And, it's humiliating for a lot of people, wonderful as it is that people are helping, to know that even if you're working two jobs, you still can't afford to turn your heating on or buy your child a pair of shoes that fit them. That's not a situation anyone should be in.
Helen Barnard, thank you very much for your time this morning.